Hi, everyone. Very nice to see you all here again today. I'm glad you're with us. I have a very interesting opportunity again to speak to Moriah Ama Hope. And I know that last time that we were thrilled by what she shared with us about her book. And this time I've invited her back because I think we only skimmed the surface. And I'd like to dive a little bit deeper into your work, Moriah. If that's okay. Welcome. How are you?
Thank you. I'm really good, thanks. Yeah, it's just turning into autumn, isn't it? That's
Yes,
the first
yes.
time I've got the electric light on, but it's good. It's all good.
Well, we're both sitting in the dark in electric light. It does feel a bit strange, but it's
That
cozy.
transition.
Yes, but it's
Mm.
hot. It's warm,
Oh, is
muggy.
it?
Very
Yeah,
warm.
it's just grey in Cornwall. Although I can see Plymouth across there, across the Sound, so a
Oh, can you? Oh,
little blue
lovely.
sky in Plymouth.
Yeah. Oh, still, Cornwall's like that. It's very rugged, isn't it? And it's
Yeah.
for me, it's a very spiritual place. It's very uh, ancient in so many ways, and yet you've got the superficial touristy side. So, a lot of people are drawn to Cornwall for arts and poetry, etc. So, let me just start from that point then. What is it about you and Cornwall? What's drawn you there, and how are you finding it?
It's a great question. I think my soul drew me here. My soul, I am soul led, which means that to a large extent, I allow life to lead me. What is presented to me, not quite like the Yes Man Jim Carrey film, but because I still discern stuff. But often, as long as I'm doing my inner work and paying attention to what life is bringing me, I then intuitively feel into whether or not I'm going to follow it. And
Mm.
last year, or Christmas 2022, I made a connection on Facebook. So a guy who I'd already been I was always already friends with, and we were part of a filming coaching community. Um, but I had an intuitive message on waking one morning, mid-December that year, and it was to put out an offer to do a single card reading using my own cards that I've channeled and done the artwork for.
Mhm.
And a guy said, "Yes, please, I'll have one," which I thought was unusual. You don't often get guys saying, "Yes, please."
Mm.
Uh, but he turns out to be my future husband. So I'd already planned, I knew that I was going to go and celebrate the anniversary, first anniversary of my book launch
Mm.
in the Southwest. Now, I thought that was Devon. So I already knew that I was going to be heading to the Southwest, but I just thought it was for a weekend. Um,
Yeah.
but it turned out over a period of 6 months, we got chatting, and I think by the April time, it became really clear that there was a deeper connection going on. And by May, I just knew, it's almost like I was holding back the water and I couldn't hold back the water any longer. So
Yeah. Mm.
I let my heart
You took a
open
chance.
wider. I took a chance.
Wow.
I
Oh.
already had, I'd had the signal intuitively because I also hear messages. So
Mm.
I'd heard pack up now.
Oh.
So I packed up all my belongings, put everything in storage. And yeah, by the end of June, I was traveling down to the Southwest, not to run a workshop or run a labyrinth event, but actually to be with him and see what it was like. And he lives in Cornwall. So that's a long answer to a quick question.
Yeah. Yes.
So,
You brought
so
a
my
lot in there.
soul,
Mm.
yeah, so my soul, I would say, brought me here, but love brought me here. He brought me here because he was already here.
Yeah.
And my relationship with Cornwall up until that point had really only been holidays. So we'd had some family holidays there with our sons, with
Mm.
my ex-husband, but mostly North Shore. So it was Tintagel and Boscastle
Mm. Mm.
and Bude.
Yeah.
Um, so I'd
Yeah.
never, well, I had actually visited this part of the world because my very first love when I was late teens, we used to come down here, Lou, Polperro, Mevagissey. So I had been down here, but I hadn't explored the Rhine Peninsula, which is where I am. And that is it's a very spiritual area. The energy is very strong. When I first got down here, I was exhausted, and I put that down to the big change I'd been through and the love that was opening up. But I suspect as well it was the land. So I think the
Yes.
land pulled me down as well. So I think it was a whole combination
Yeah. Yeah.
of
I can
Julian.
understand. If
Yeah,
anybody hasn't been to Cornwall, they won't really understand what you're saying. But there is something about the rocky, craggy openness, wildness
it's wild.
of of Cornwall.
There's a
That is,
wild energy to it that's untamed.
yeah,
It won't be tamed,
yeah. And you
especially
can't
in
tame the
that part of the
people
world.
either.
No,
You
no,
can't
they
tame
go on
them.
their own timing. It really is like being in a different world. I've realized that.
Mm,
And it took me a long time. So I think 6 weeks after I arrived, he took me up to what's called Rame Head, which is it is a very spiritual space.
mhm,
But I still wasn't feeling it, and I thought, I don't know how this is going to work because I love him, but I'm not sure about Cornwall at
mm.
all. And I looked down across the coast and just burst into tears. It was like, oh my God, this is home.
Oh,
And
oh,
as it turns out, that coastline is just around the corner from where we're going to get married. So,
oh, how lovely.
so
Yeah.
that space feels
Mm,
like home, but I would never have thought of coming here. I would never have
no.
thought I must up sticks 5 hours and go southwest 5 hours. Because I would never have left my sons are what, 30 and 28, and they're at that stage where they're beginning to settle, but
Mm,
they're
mm.
always kids.
I think
So
there's, as I said before, there's a lot to unpick in there. You said you're soul led and you go with your intuition and you hear messages, which
mm,
is unusual to a lot of people to come across those ideas and to see your story unfold there and find yourself in a place you weren't completely comfortable with, and then to have that willingness to be opened is what to me life is all about, and I think that's wonderful that you're getting married near that point as well.
yeah, I do believe that there is a design. That's what I would call it. I
Hmm.
call it a design, life's design. And I've always felt, I mean, I wasn't brought up in any kind of religious connotation. My parents don't, and never have operated the way I operate. I'm quite different to the rest of my family. And I always felt that there must be more to life than this, even as a child. Um, and I had various experiences that kind of made me feel that, or led me to believe, I suppose, that there was something else going on. I always believed that things would always work out well. I don't know where I got that from, but that is something I remember from being a child. Um, and there are certain things I've always known to be right. So my first husband, I knew that we were going to get married and it was the right thing. And it absolutely was at that time. And for
Hmm.
25 years, we were together and
Hmm.
had our kids and brought them up.
Hmm.
Um, the previous partner I was with, I absolutely knew even if he'd proposed, I would not, I wasn't going to be getting married. But with Julian, I absolutely knew by the May,
Hmm.
I'd, I'd heard a voice in my head, you're going to marry that man. And my whole body just burst into joy. My head's going, oh, I don't think so. No, 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 no. I'm not getting married again. I barely know him at a human level. No, 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 no. And that's when my next name fell in as well. So
Hmm.
uh, very strange. Most people would think you're mad or you're making it up or you're manipulating. I've had that before as well, but it's not.
Hmm.
It literally drops into my head.
Hmm.
But I've lived for the last 25 years, that's how I've lived my life. So I had a calling to leave my corporate job and train as a Reiki master and become a coach when my kids were little, and also a calling to move south from North London, which is what we did. Um,
Hmm.
I had a calling to start working with the divine feminine energy, and I channeled a whole course around that. I then felt called to learn the numerology that I still work with. So that was 2006.
Uh-huh.
I trained in numerology, and that confirmed to me really that there is a design. So there is a design for us and a design for our life.
Hmm.
Um, that is something that our soul has wanted. It's like a soul dream has wanted. So I do believe in reincarnation. I do believe we come back time after time. Um, and I think that's one of the reasons why we recognize certain people and feel drawn to certain people,
Mm,
uh, that we recognize their kind of soul signature or their energy from a previous time.
mm,
Um,
mm,
and so that's how I work. I work very much from there is a design. My intention is to stay true to my design. But I also know I have choice.
mm.
I do
Yes.
sometimes wonder if I don't choose something that is in alignment, what's going to happen, because I know that I can be drawn off piste a bit. Um, but mostly I'm in alignment. And the people who
Mm,
I see who are in most pain are the people who resist what life is bringing them, because I think that's the other part of this, where there's a flow, where if we can accept what life brings us, even if it doesn't look like the
yeah.
thing that we expected. I mean, I
Mhm.
didn't expect to come to Cornwall with a man who loves motorbikes, has a tattoo and a dog. That wasn't my thing,
It
really.
wouldn't be, would it?
But
No.
I didn't think it was. But it turns
Yeah.
out it is.
Yeah.
Um, and he had the same thing, his way of manifesting was he wanted a loving relationship with me. I wrote a list of what I wanted, the values that I wanted, and the
Mm,
qualities that I wanted. Not what he looked like, but it was, yeah,
mm,
I think that's one of the ways we came together.
mm, mm.
Um,
I must admit, I understand completely. I know some people wouldn't understand this, but I urge you, if you're watching this and wondering what we're talking about, try listening to your inner voice. It will tell you when you're driving on the road, don't go that way. Or you reached a fork road, which one shall I take? Shall I take that one or that one? Take one. Take the
mm,
one that you feel. With me, it's pictures. I suddenly see a picture and I know which
yeah.
one to go. But
Mm,
I think what it is a sense of trust. It's trusting whatever you believe in. Some people are very religious. It's trusting your own ability to communicate with that eternal part of us that is on a path, and trusting the path. Because as I say to my children and my grandchildren, you can always do a U-turn. There is no wrong path. Sometimes you have to come off the motorway because it's blocked and there's a traffic jam. You come
mm,
off and you have an adventure. It's not wrong. You have an adventure and you see some beautiful place that you've never seen before. And you would talk to somebody and something will happen. And it's that level of trust and excitement and anticipation, but also the ego can be left behind, because it does not matter if you take a U-turn. You
mm,
can turn around, go back. You can go off for a long way. You can go where you like in this world, on whatever journey with whoever. But you will always come back to the point where you are going to understand something and perceive
mm.
something and give something to the
Yeah,
world. And I
yeah.
think that the other thing you mentioned was love took you there. Love,
Mm,
love opens all doors. And
yeah.
I can always remember my car got hit once as I was turning into a junction, into a road. Car behind me hit me. I was written off for a little while, had a lot of inconvenience, but my life changed because I got a much better car. I travelled further. Things changed from that point on. And I know if you're into astrology and numerology that Jupiter can be an ultimate benefactor, but it's also can put you into the hospital where the healing takes place. So
Yeah, it's not necessarily all beds of roses.
no, so sometimes our pain is where we find our greatest healing. And
Mm,
I just use this little car explanation. The
yeah,
car. It would be so easy to be distraught and unhappy, but I tend to go, okay, that's gone. There's a vacuum, so something else will occur.
yeah.
And yeah, so your journeys have taken that way. So how does that fit in with the idea of a labyrinth? Because you touched also on the numerological side of things and the patterns and the mathematics and the geometry in life, etc. So it's underpinning. So tell us a little bit more about what a labyrinth is to you and how you do your workshops.
So, I mean, I'm no scientist and I'm not a mathematician, but so I feel things. I'm drawn to things, I feel things. And when I refer to the design, it's more about the story of our life or what the soul has chosen. And for some reason, the labyrinth has been it's been around in my life for about 18 years or so, maybe a little bit longer. So I have run labyrinth retreats in France and Ireland and this country. And then my book was called Labyrinth as well.
Yes.
The labyrinth to me, whenever I walk it, it's different every single time. And there are lots of different types of labyrinth. If you look online, the classic ones are a 7-turn labyrinth, or a 5-turn labyrinth. And I've walked both. The 7-turn labyrinth is a really interesting design. It's said that when you walk it, each of the 7 twists relates to a chakra. So basically, as you walk in and you follow the path, and you can't go wrong because the path leads you right to the center. As you're doing that, you're unbinding, unwinding, loosening up anything that's stuck within the energy field, because it seems to mirror a human energy field somehow. I don't know how, but that's my sense of me walking it and watching other people walk it. They are transformed by the time they get to the center, every single time. So it's like a magical walk. And it's a funny one because every time I try and describe it, I describe it differently, but I'm not sure I really capture the essence of it. It's one of those quite elusive, spiritual, magical things to me. It is part of the mystery. It's part of the, I think, a feminine mystery. I think it is quite a feminine symbol. But that said, essentially what I think all of them do is bring us back into greater wholeness. So if anyone's ever had kind of a massage or a craniosacral session or anything that works with energy, a Reiki session maybe, and you leave that session feeling more whole, less scattered, more grounded, calmer, that's the potential of simply walking a labyrinth can do. It rebalances and reharmonizes our energy field, but I think it also does the same thing to our brain. It works on the left and right brain to get them synchronized. It brings us into greater peace within ourselves. That's my experience of it.
Yes, I can relate to that completely. I like what you said about the brain, because it can also, it's a bit like the internal side of a breast, but also it's a bit like a brain to look at.
It is.
I think science does back up spirituality. So I like to incorporate science, and I've always found that science eventually catches up with spirituality. And I think a lot of religions and spiritual practice is a different way of interpreting the science and the design that lays behind, because science is part of the design. So it's all integrative, isn't it? So
it is.
As a spiritual being, I know that at times you've said to me that what I do everything, I do so much, how do you separate everything? It's kind of like you are always full, and perhaps life just draws different things out of you at different times. And yet we can't be full of everything. So I'm not a mathematician, I'm useless at maths. But I'm an artist and I like words and poetry. I wasn't understood by my family. I always remember them saying, "Why do you want to watch ballet?" Why? What is this? Let's play some jazz. Play some swing music. What is it about David Bowie that intrigues you? I've got a very eclectic choice of music and writing and things. So I try to keep an open mind. I think if you look at someone's spirituality and how in touch they are with their spiritual self, it is an openness that they have and a wonderment, the magic and mystery. And you don't necessarily have the answers. So there's very much a tolerance of
Yeah,
an appreciation of others and
I
what they
think
believe.
so. I think so. And also, especially recently, I've been finding myself saying, well, who says? Who
Yes.
says that we have to do things like that? Or who says that that's how things have to be done? Or
Mhm.
really challenging all of the beliefs, because also part of our design, I believe, is part of the programming. You know, I think we're born with certain programming that our soul has put in there as part of our challenge.
Yeah.
And I see that through the soul contract work I do with the numerology, time and time and time again. And so part of my work is helping people clear that programming at a soul level. And then we're imprinted with mostly our parents and our family and those who are, you know, within the first 7 years, we're imprinted by society. And so then we've got to start taking out those imprints and lifting those layers. And then once we've done that, it's kind of, whoa, who am I then? Because up until that point, we've been orientated by everybody else. And that's another kind of part of coming back to wholeness, I think, that if you can clear the programming and ask yourself, well, is that strictly true? Whose belief is that? And do I still believe that? Because I may have grown up believing it, but is it still true?
And we're all born in different eras. You know, especially if like you mentioned earlier, you believe in reincarnation, then the soul's path is different. But otherwise, the world would be full of people all the same, doing the same things. So the DNA and the practical side, the physical side of making an individual within context of society and family, etc., and potential. I meet so many people with who say, I've got so much potential, but I don't know what it is, or I've got potential, but I've never been able to play the piano or be this or be that because of other choices. And I think often women are split between what they want to do for themselves and what they feel they should do, but especially once they have a family, because the bonding and the nurturing side is so strong. But so people come to you for guidance about these matters. I'm sure you're very good you're very gentle and very supportive. Very good. So how could somebody, if they were interested in all the things you're saying today, how could they contact you? What's the best way for them to contact you?
Most of the time people are either referred to me or they just feel drawn. They'll see something I've posted on Facebook or Instagram and just want to be in touch. If you wanted to get another sense of me, you could read the book.
Yes, read the book.
That
Yes,
gives
I will post it. I will put the book reference to the book in. But yes, so
but definitely I'm on Facebook, but I don't use I'm sporadic really at the moment. So I'm on Facebook, but I don't use the business pages. You'd have to request a friendship.
So is email better then?
Email's better, or you could find me on Instagram, but just say that you've seen me here and then I'll know.
Yeah, and I'll put your details into the comments. Right, so I think because I could talk to you forever, I think now that we've come a little bit further on the journey and ended up with this labyrinth and numerology, I'm sure that that's enough for the audience at the moment, because they're probably thinking, oh, and what and how. And so some of you may have questions, some of you may be going like me and saying, oh yes, we understand that. And some of you may want to join Moriah on her workshops. So I urge you to check the comments and the descriptor, and I'll drop all the details in there. And do you have any last message for anybody who's in, I don't know, what words of wisdom have you got for us?
Gosh, that's caught me on the hop.
Yeah, whatever pops in your head.
Whatever pops in your head. Well, there's something that I'm learning at the moment or refining, which is about flow. So if you're trying really hard to make something happen, stop
Mm.
and wait and see how it resolves itself, because that's what I'm learning at the moment. It's where am I trying to make something happen? Where am I trying to get a solution to something because I just want to tick it off my list? Because I'm now organizing a wedding on top of working
Yeah.
and everything else. And I'm finding that's what I'm doing sometimes. And actually, if I just stop, if it just feels too logistically difficult, stop and just wait. And solutions actually come really easily after that. So
Yeah.
it's quite a hard lesson I'm learning at the moment.
That's so valuable though, because we're taught to push and to try and strive. So I think that's great advice. I do agree with it. And I hope everybody takes that on board. So thank you very much, Moriah. I'm going to talk to you again. So enjoy your life today. And thank you, Moriah. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.